from the start, you broke my heart. Love never seemed to bloom. I looked at you, but you wanted her, and I knew our love was done. I don't wanna think about that now. I'll think about it tomorrow. But when I'm thinking about that, I won't be thinking about you.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
Wrong again.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
I've seen that since university.
Fun, insightful interviews from a wide range of subjects. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Now, here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there, I'm Rob McKnight. Good evening, welcome to McKnight Tonight on this tipsy Thursday. I've got the bourbon going tonight, a bit of straight bourbon on the rocks. Very, very nice. Amanda is gone, she's gone for the gin and tonic. So yeah, we're not doing the wine tonight. How you doing there, man? Are you in party mode yet?
Yes, very good.
Yeah, she's doing the whole show naked, so she is here. That's why she never wants me to put the camera over there. Maybe I've had a few too many drinks already. All right, here's a little piece of history for you. On this day back in 1793, Australia's very first church opened in Sydney. 232 years later, the sermons might have changed, but the scandals, not so much. And speaking of church, thank you for being in the church of McKnight Tonight, where I deliver my sermons every Monday to Thursday at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. That's youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. Also a great place to go to leave your thoughts in the comment section of this video, because we love hearing your comments. There's a little thing you might have to do. You might see that in the bug, the logo that comes up, it has the subscribe button, but it has that bell as well. It means if you hit the bell, you'll get notified when we're going live. I think maybe when videos go up, but at least when we're going live. So to make sure you never miss a show, don't just subscribe, hit the notified button as well. And of course, here's the big one. Over the weekend, I will be doing another live stream. And who knows when? I'm shooting Booty and the Beasts this weekend, man. I wonder if I could get them involved in the stream. Probably not. We're always behind schedule. But yeah, we're shooting 4 episodes of that, so that'll be a lot of fun. And next week will be the 50th episode of McKnight Tonight. Yeah. So tell me your favourite moments or the worst moments, and I don't know if I'll have time to do a little bit of a compile, but it'd be nice. It would be nice. What? Could you do that? Hey, it's a night of hot topics tonight. So coming up, a police power struggle in New South Wales with leaks, smears and backstabbing rocketing the race to replace Karen Webb as Commissioner. In Hollywood, Roseanne Barr says she's been treated unfairly, while Jimmy Kimmel gets the red carpet treatment on his late night return. I'll have a Rob's rant on Snoop Dogg and the AFL Grand Final and the so-called insiders who swore he'd be dumped. And Australians injured by COVID vaccines say the government's compensation scheme has failed them. All that and plenty more coming up in this edition of McKnight Tonight. Now let's get into our hot topics. And the battle to succeed Karen Webb as New South Wales Police Commissioner has laid bare just how toxic the top ranks of the force have become. What should have been a dignified handover turned into months of leaks, smears and backstabbing. Yesterday, frontrunner Mal Lanyon was announced as Webb's replacement. There's no doubt leaks against Webb led to her resigning from the role just 3.5 years into her 5-year contract. And those leaks were relentless. A complaint was lodged over claims she released the name of victim Dawn Singleton to Talkback host Ray Hadley before next of kin notification, which was, of course, leaked to the media. As a thank you, Hadley would later call on her to resign, and she was cleared. Then came the so-called gin gate, claims she used taxpayer money to buy bottles of gin, only revealed in Parliament under privilege. The corruption watchdog eventually cleared her of that misconduct, but not before the story had done the rounds. After a series of PR disasters, Webb employed my former boss, Steve Jackson, as her media advisor. A campaign from, yes, within the police force began immediately to oust him from the role, digging up as much dirt as possible and handing it to Ben Fordham. It worked. The contract was terminated, leaving Webb without a much-needed PR spinner. The leaks and backgrounding against Webb continued. More recently, the Daily Telegraph revealed a secret probe into security contractors at Webb's home, another investigation exposed through leaked documents and FOI refusals. So, with Webb finally packing it in, it meant whoever was leaking against her, whether it was one person or many, would have their chance to go for the top job. But with an open field, attention turned to those in line to become the next police commissioner. As frontrunner, Mal Lanyon closed in on the top job. A damaging leak emerged about him inviting family and friends onto a police vessel on New Year's Eve. Lanyon admitted it was a poor judgment, but the timing of the leak was seen as a deliberate attempt to torpedo his chances. And this wasn't the first time. Reports emerged of him collapsing drunk and then swearing at paramedics who tried to help him when he was going for the top job back in 2021. Now, if you do the wrong thing, it's all fair game. But there's no doubt that one by one, these revelations have been used to undermine contenders for the Commissioner's chair. The end result? A public perception of a police hierarchy at war with itself, where internal rivals and external media allies have traded leaks like weapons. It's so obvious. It is so obvious that these people are leaking against each other and using the media to get their message out there. How can they be trusted? Let me be very blunt. What we've seen isn't just the usual rough and tumble of a leadership contest. It's a culture of knife fights in the shadows. When senior cops and their allies leak against each other, it doesn't just damage reputations inside police headquarters, it damages public trust in the entire force. Look at these examples. Karen Webb smeared over the Bondi victim leak, cleared, but the mud stuck. Gingate dragged her name through the papers for months, cleared again, but the stain remains. Steve Jackson humiliated in a job he never even started and bore nothing as part of this, but he was used as fodder. Mal Lanyon, he hit with a New Year's Eve boat story just as the job was in reach. This isn't accountability, it is sabotage. Instead of focusing on crime, community safety and rebuilding trust, the upper echelons of New South Wales Police have been caught in a cycle of internal warfare. And I'm left wondering, if this is how our top cops treat each other, how can we have confidence they're focused on us? And how can we trust them? In my view, the leaking culture is rotten to the core. Mal Lanyon may now have the badge, but unless he cleans house and ends the backstabbing, the community will keep paying the price for a police force more interested in internal politics than public service. And right now, the backstabbing looks every bit as dangerous as the crime they're supposed to be fighting. All right, let me know your thoughts in the usual places, right here on YouTube or on Facebook. And we had a buffering issue on YouTube last night near the end of the show. But I've done some research and we weren't having that problem with Facebook or Twitter. So while I like and need everyone to watch through YouTube so that we get the money from that, if we do have a buffering problem again, flick on over to the old place at Facebook, just facebook.com. It's not at McKnight tonight, it's like McTon or something like that. You'll find it anyway. Just do a search. All right, Roseanne Barr is not happy with the triumphant return of Jimmy Kimmel to late night television, and she has good reason to be upset. As I discussed last night in depth, Kimmel returned to Jimmy Kimmel Live after a brief suspension tied to comments he made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Now, Barr says that's the definition of a double standard. She points to how ABC completely cancelled her show back in 2018 after a tweet she posted was deemed racist. Her career was wrecked, she says, with no path to redemption. This interview from News Nation was recorded just hours before Kimmel returned to the airwaves.
What do you think about Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, Roseanne? And what do you make of ABC putting him back on tonight?
Well, I guess he got a 6-day suspension, just like when Whoopi Goldberg came out with her disgusting comments on the Holocaust. She got a 2-week suspension. It just shows how they think. I got my whole life ruined, my no forgiveness, and all of my work stolen.
And it was. Her show was completely taken away from her. Her work was all stolen. I'll talk about that in a moment. Let me remind you of the tweet. In May 2018, she tweeted about former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett, and she said, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ, as in Valerie Jarrett. Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ. A lot of people saw it as racist. She says she didn't know the lady was even black. She thought she was white. So she didn't see it as a racist tweet. But there's one thing that really is for certain. She was thrown to the wolves. And it does feel like people on the left will stand up for people on the left and not people, and Roseanne is on the right, they won't stand up for people on the right. And she talked about the double standard, that people stood up for Jimmy, who she accuses of lying. We've talked about the comment. I thought his words were clumsy, but his comment wasn't factually correct. He said that MAGA are trying to paint this guy as anything but MAGA. That's fine. But he is one of them. That's not the direct quote, but he was saying that this guy was MAGA, the person who is accused of shooting Charlie Kirk. And she makes the point no one stood up for her. She also talked about how her career never recovered.
Have any of the big networks ever approached you again, or did you just get totally written off?
Oh, yeah, and erased from history, from the history of feminism, which that cracks me up. I'm never mentioned in any thing about women who are pioneers in media. I'm never mentioned there. I'm never mentioned in anything anymore. I've been socially erased everywhere. And, it's just amazing how things work. But, people I actually opened doors for or gave careers to, they never mention me, especially when they talk about censorship, which is hilarious.
I have to say I feel sorry for her. Her whole life's work was destroyed by a single tweet that she says she didn't even know she was being racist. And those people she talks about, Sarah Gilbert in particular, ABC cancelled the show. Roseanne had come back. It had done great numbers. And ABC, she's out. We're not having anything to do with it. Sarah Gilbert convinced Roseanne to hand over all the rights because ABC said, if we do another show, she can't get a penny. So Roseanne had to hand over all the rights so that all those people could keep working. She handed over a fortune. No one ever gives her credit for that. And Sarah Gilbert has completely turned her back on Roseanne. She went off, she kept making the show, and she's publicly had a go at her. There was no loyalty whatsoever, even if you think it's a racist tweet. Sometimes you've got to say, I still think there's a thing of loyalty. The actress who played Hermione in Harry Potter, Emma Watson, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, she came out and said, I still like J.K. Rowling. I don't agree with her transgender views, but I still like the person and I have to separate the two. I agree with that. Roseanne Barr isn't an evil person. Nutty. Absolutely nutty. Do I agree with most of the things she says? No, I do not. But I do have sympathy for a woman who built this amazing, groundbreaking comedy, only to have the very people that she employed and gave careers to not only turn their backs on her, but take it from her. At a moment when she's down, the whole world is turning on her. They basically, it's like a dying person. Here, sign over your rights. And that's what she did, because she was feeling guilty that hundreds of people were going to lose their jobs. Whatever you think of those tweets, whatever you think of her views, we need to give her some credit. And I still, to this day, don't think people do enough of that.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
All right, we might be doing a whole show of hot topics tonight. There's always time for a rant. Indeed. Well, Snoop Dogg is in town for the AFL, and aren't the media fawning over the superstar rapper? Now, you might remember there's been some controversy over him being part of the AFL. It's a topic I covered recently in Media McKnight. The AFL's choice to book Snoop Dogg as the grand final entertainment is being dragged through a PR nightmare. And make no mistake, the media are gleefully feeding the frenzy. Ever since the announcement, outlets have been actively digging up controversial statements the rapper has made recently and over the years. Snoop didn't help the AFL last week when he made these comments on the It's Giving podcast.
I took my grandson to see, what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
The new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
What'd you tell them?
Watch the movie. Eat this popcorn. Shh.
You said, we don't know. We don't know.
It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age, like
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
Now, that comment sparked a wave of backlash, with critics accusing him of homophobia. But he's a singer providing entertainment, so do his views matter? He's not being employed for his views. The AFL has made a commercial decision to get the biggest name they can for the budget they have. But let's be clear about something. This sensationalism isn't about ethical standards, it's about clickbait. The media isn't outraged over inclusion or equality, they're just riding the outrage wave for more clicks. Brendan Favola reports the AFL will drop Snoop just to put the story to bed. It won't work. It will lead to more stories. Then the media will demand answers on who made the decision to hire him in the first place, and they'll want that person fired. The media will get what it wants, a story that keeps going and driving clicks. You know, I'm glad to say the AFL held its ground and now it's reaping the rewards. Coverage has been fawning today with Snoop holding a press conference, although media weren't actually allowed to ask any questions. The AFL, though, got what it wanted with pics of the rapper plastered everywhere. And I'm glad to see it. And these media companies that were salivating for more clickbait, as that fine young man just said in Media McKnight, they didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get the follow-up because here's how it would have played out. Snoop would have been sacked. That would have been a couple of days worth of headlines. Then it would have been who made the decision, who was responsible. And so they would have been looking for the scapegoat. Good on the AFL for not following the media narrative. I really applaud them for that. And Snoop's going to be a great act. They're already trying to get drone shots and chopper shots of him doing his rehearsals. It's going to be a spectacular event. But, you know, I've got to say, Brendan Favola said he believed the AFL plans to axe him. Didn't happen. He predicted Snoop would be cancelled as the headliner, saying an Australian artist would replace him. Bum, bum. David Schwartz in radio commentary, Schwartz on SEN. Schwartz was quoted saying, Snoop will be cancelled, will not be presenting on grand final day. In fact, I believe those comments got taken down at the time because they knew they weren't true. You know, here's my Snoop story. I haven't met him, but I was doing a shoot for Studio 10 down in Melbourne, and we were staying at a hotel, lovely hotel. Can't remember the name of it. And basically, we'd all been assigned our rooms, and I was given a very lovely room, very lovely. Anyway, the PR person took us into this room and said, this is where Snoop Dogg stayed. And it had a courtyard, it had multiple levels. And I said, oh, I want to stay here. And I was being a bit tongue-in-cheek. I said, no, I've got to stay where the dog stayed. And they gave it to me. So I got to, it was a couple of nights, I think, where I got to stay, and all the cast and crew who were down for the Melbourne shoot, we all had a few drinkies in the courtyard, and I could just imagine Snoop wanted that courtyard so he could have a few puffs on whatever he was puffing. But it is so funny. Not even close to him, far removed, but I got to stay in his hotel room and I felt like a superstar. And that's all it takes for me. Anyway, it went from a Rob's rant to a, what would you call that?
Walk down memory lane.
No, I was going to be meaner than that about myself, where I was talking myself up. There's a better term for that. Someone will put it on the feedback. Anyway, Rob's rant. More hot topics are coming your way in just a moment. And we will have a back-end quickie. Have we got a back-end quickie?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we didn't run one last night. So we've already got one in the can. I was just thinking, I don't remember prepping a back-end quickie. But this one's a good one. You'll like this one. Some of you will like it. Oh, sorry, because I will forget. Beck, our follower, who's part of the McKnight Tonight community, I believe it's this week, she's going to be on the Assembly on ABC. Yeah, she's been talking about it. She did, actually, maybe once it's gone to air, we can get her on to talk about it maybe next week. But we'll all have to look out this Sunday at 7:30, I believe. Beck, let us know if this is the episode, but that's going to be very cool, her being on the Assembly, so we can't wait to watch that. All right. All that, there's so much more to come, including your feedback. But first, a random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
It's our random live shot of the day. We love our random live shot of the day. And this is Cafe Del Mar in Ibiza, the world's famous bar that's been serving up cocktails and sunsets since 1980. Tourists and locals alike gather here to watch the sun sink into the Mediterranean, set to the chilled beats that have made Cafe Del Mar an iconic of Balearic nightlife. Weather-wise, it's a partly sunny day with a temperature range of 14 to 26. And we say partly sunny, it's looking pretty sunny, but over here, I'll be a weatherman for a moment. Over here, we've got some cloud cover, but as we bring the camera over this way, we can see the clear sky. So we're hoping that cloud cover will push off over into the west, but if it comes over to the east, we will possibly get some rain patches. I made that last part up. All right, let's have a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight as we celebrate Tipsy Thursday. Dylan says, I've got McKnight Tonight air playing on the big screen at the gym tonight. Few extra viewers for you tonight, Rob. Dylan, this is what I'm talking about. Getting the McKnight Tonight brand out there. What a great man you are. All right, well, I just realised I haven't got Jazz tonight, so I'm doing the feedback. I forgot, but she is watching. Jasmine's out of state tonight. She's doing a university course. She's had to go out for a practical, and she's watching those. So hello, Jazz. We miss you. I forgot I had to do this. Restoration Archive says, McKnight Tonight, Rob, did you see the Aquas have been cancelled for good? I did see that. And yeah, it's a very sad day, I've got to say. We knew it was coming. The money's just not there. Vicky says, oh, Rob, how does Amanda put up with you? I think that was in reference to you doing the show naked tonight, Amanda. So maybe you'll have to put on some clothes. All right. Beck says, to quote the line, my father, he used to say that Gloucester Park was his version of church, which was the racetrack where he was a journalist. So that, yes, if you're a journalist, is Darren Murphy, Rob's new drinks sponsor. I'd like a sponsor. Restoration Archive says, I got an ACRA in 2015. I think the New Zealand Awards could turn into the Australian New Zealand Radio Awards. That's a great idea, and congratulations on your ACRA. Darren says, funny you should say that, coming to you from Crazleys in Cairns to celebrate my second last night of singlehood. Are you getting married? Darren, hang on. Your second last night. So tonight is not the... So this is your bachelor party. I don't know if it is or not, Amanda, but I'm going to guess that Darren Murphy is watching McKnight Tonight with his mates. It's his bachelor party. They're all sitting there with their bourbon and their champagnes and having a few drinks while he watches McKnight Tonight. Could you think of anything better for your bachelor party? For your hens? Now, if it was your hens night, I'd do a little bit of okay, on the serious topic, aren't you crazy in regards to the police leaking? New South Wales Police Force, all local kindergarten. Absolutely. And Dylan says, I see the next season of Underbelly being written now. O'Neill Crazy says, all these leaks. No wonder Rob pissed about. Oh, very funny. But on a serious one, you say New South Wales Police Force or political party. Yeah, they all do the same stuff. Beck says, can I ask a serious question? And this might sound dumb. Can the federal government take over in situations like this? Doesn't sound dumb, Beck. And there's no dumb questions. The short answer is no. The federal government doesn't do police in states. The states have their own. Basically, the states are in control of certain things like education, hospitals, and police. Federal government does a range of other things, but it's not a stupid question. Far from it. O'Neill Crazy says women have always been. This is on the Roseanne topic. Women have always been treated more harshly than men. It happened to Wano to write it. Yes, it did. Beck says, I'm sorry, but Roseanne's behaviour was not appropriate. I agree, but how much do you get punished? Darren says it's Hollywood. They always have double standards. It makes media news there. It will always be alternative views. O'Neill Crazy says the whole Roseanne debacle was poorly handled. Sarah Gilbert saw her chance and seized the opportunity to take all of Roseanne's intellectual property for herself. Note, Sarah Gilbert played Darlene. Very true. And Jeanette, I know you love it. 2 words, rant time. And you're crazy. Sarah Gilbert's marriage broke down. Her talk show, The Talk, got cancelled. She doesn't seem to be doing much since the Connors finished. I wouldn't trust her on anything else. Wow. On the Snoop Dogg, Own Your Crazy says, people hated the idea. Now Snoop Dogg is the toast of Melbourne. Yeah, that was exactly my point. Gavin on Facebook says, pass the Doritos on the left-hand side. I don't get that. You've lost me there, Gavin. I don't... You'll have to explain that one to me. I'm a bit slow. Darren says, yet people love the fact that Teddy Swims is doing the NRL. Personally, they shouldn't promote Australian artists. Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of you know that I don't overly follow sport. I had no idea who was doing halftime, but I knew that Snoop Dogg was in the NRL, but I knew that Snoop was doing the AFL, and I think that just tells you everything. Restoration Archive says, I'm going to bet his performance will be 1,000 times better than Meatloaf. Couldn't agree more. Michael says, on Roseanne, when people make mistakes, there needs to be accountability. Did the punishment fit the crime? Maybe not. What Kimmel said was completely taken out of context and you can't compare. I do agree with that. Kimmel was factually incorrect, but his words were twisted. But I don't think any of them should be cancelled. I'm not big on the whole cancel culture, as you guys well know. And as far as my story about Snoop Dogg, Radio Note says, Rob stayed in the doghouse. Restoration Archive says, oh, gee, can we please get Amanda a microphone or a headset? We're working on it. But it's not just plugging it in, it's having it here so I can turn it on and off. You guys don't understand. Matthew Braun says, humble brag. And Nicole says, gone from Rob's rant to Rob's brag. Yes, that's what I was trying to get. All right. Gavin has come back to me and said, Snoop Dogg chat sounded like he might have had the munchies. Okay. All right. Thank you for all your feedback. We will have more shortly, and Back End Quickie is coming your way. You are watching McKnight Tonight. Okay, back to serious. It's been revealed Aussies who've suffered adverse effects from the COVID-19 vaccine are still waiting for compensation, despite promises from the government it would be an easy process. Have a look at part of this report from 7:30.
The vaccine rollout was a turning point in the COVID pandemic.
The feeling was that 2 doses would give you some good protection. The chances of getting a serious or severe adverse event or reaction are very, very rare.
But they did happen.
At that stage, I was 48 years old, navigating the world on a walking frame.
And it was horrific.
And the government set up a so-called safety net.
It was really designed to support trust in the rollout and increase uptake and appropriately compensate anyone that had a serious side effect.
Administered by Services Australia, the vaccine claim scheme was sold as a simple and quick process for compensation. But since its closure a year ago, hundreds of claims remain unresolved, with allegations the process has been cruel and highly complex.
For me right now, I don't see an end in sight.
Approaching her mid-50s, Kathleen's life is nothing what she thought it would be.
Like I said to my cardiologist, the last meeting we had when we talked about this new medication, like, okay, so what if it doesn't work? What happens then? And he was honest and he said, I don't know.
In the past few years, the once successful florist has had 9 heart surgeries and suffers multiple debilitating complications after receiving 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. She applied for compensation through the scheme in February 2023.
I never thought when I first went down that track that I would be staring down the barrel of 2.5 years, and I'm still waiting. What a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. We made promises to these people. Get the vaccine. If something goes wrong, we will help you. This is absolutely outrageous. And I've got concerns about what happened during COVID when it comes to vaccines. We were forced to take this, and it was untested. it was something we really didn't know what we were taking. And in fact, something I've learned that blows my mind is AstraZeneca and other vaccines have what they call the black triangle. Now, take my computer, please, Amanda. So this is from the TGA website. So this is the official TGA website, and it tells you what the black triangle scheme is. The black triangle goes on medicine information documents for new prescription medicines in Australia. It is a reminder to people to report any adverse events related to these new medicines. So this is the black triangle. Some side effects or adverse events from medicines are not known until the medicine has been in general use for some time. The black triangle scheme identifies new prescription medicines with a black triangle on the medicine information documents. The scheme also applies to prescription medicines being used in new ways, such as a medicine that is now being used for children. The black triangle is a visual reminder to encourage health practitioners and patients to report a problem or side effect. So what this is saying is that these medicines that come out new are being tested on the public. They've gone through their testing, although how much testing the COVID vaccines went through is questionable. But what it's saying is that we haven't done a general release. We don't know the dangers. But what happened during COVID? We were all forced to take it. And those who didn't became a blight on society. They weren't allowed to go into venues, like in Queensland, we had the Queensland Act where you had to prove that you had had your vaccination. And I don't know if I'm just stupid, right? But to me, a vaccination, like a vaccination for smallpox and things like that, means you don't get this. But that doesn't happen with COVID. We still get COVID. It's not a cure from COVID. And yet we were all forced to take it. In hindsight, it should have been a choice. There have been many people who have had bad reactions to this. I feel sorry for people that had autoimmune deficiencies, because it was very hard to actually have a reason for not taking the vaccine. Workplaces were saying you could not go to work, you could not be employed by us if you didn't use the vaccine. Think about that. Now, what's going on in America at the moment and all that is not where I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But I do think at some point we need to look back at what we did during COVID and have a proper inquiry into what we got right and wrong. Because I think when it comes to vaccines, there's a lot of there were a lot of questionable decisions made, including the forced vaccine that we all had to take. The forcing of people to take something. Now, herd immunity is absolutely a thing. And the good thing about herd immunity when it comes to vaccines is that the more people that take it, the ones who can't get protected. So I'm certainly not on the anti-vax train bandwagon. But I do think, God, those vaccines came quickly for COVID. And people tell me, and I've read things, that it was building upon research that was already out there. But Jesus, you suddenly came out with a vaccine for a brand new virus so quickly. No. I think we have to ask a lot of questions about it. Okay, let's get some feedback and then we'll have a back-end quickie. I've got this one from Restoration Archive. Oh, good, a back-end. I best prepare myself. Beck says, love my parents, but thank God my mother didn't have to help my father with his radio show. It was all done on community radio. Well, this is like community radio with Amanda helping me. Oh, God, I really do wish we had a camera on her sometime. All right, what have we got over the page? Restoration Archive says, oh, yes, safe and effective and voluntary. Beck says, a serious question. I fully support the vaccine, rat tests, and all of the rest of it. However, here's my question. Why are rat tests so expensive? A very good question, and one that is worth asking. Restoration Archive says, Beck, because medical and pharma are big C words. I'm going to assume that's cash. I may not be. Nicole says, my daughter, 19 at the time, was left with lungs full of blood clots because of COVID vaccination. She had to have work. 2.5 years on thinners, but she's still not 100%. Nicole, look and see if your daughter is eligible for that that compensation, especially if she's missed work because of it. I'm so sorry to hear that. These are the stories that are out there that we're not hearing enough of. So sending you all my love, Nicole, and to your daughter. All right, over the page we go. And Michael says, I support vaccines, but I'm glad 730 reported this. It shows they have balance. I like to think I'm across most news, but I was unaware of this. I do feel bad for those who have actually suffered. Gavin says that black triangle, may as well have been the Bermuda Triangle. Restoration Archive says, Michael T, vaccines work. COVID one was just a scam. Ginger Meg says, hi, I think I remember you from Big Brother. No, I wasn't on Big Brother, although when the last few series of Big Brother were on Channel 7, I did Eye on Big Brother with Ben Norris, who was a Big Brother winner, but no, I've never been. I'd love to do Big Brother. Would love to do it. Can't wait to see the new one from Channel 10. Darren says, okay, going to catch up with the rest of this tomorrow. If I end up on a plane in some unknown destination, because that's what I would do, send help. I swear he's on a bachelor party tonight. Maybe it's tomorrow night. All right, and your crazy says, I have been on medication I was fine taking after a period of time not taking it. I was prescribed it again and it did not suit me. There's no consistency with medication. That's very true. Matthew says lots of people lost their jobs. Jeanette says, I was terrified of getting COVID. I was simply told I could die. Restoration Archive says, confusing Rob with Mike Goldman. Beck says, I spent nearly $200 at the pharmacy on masks and a rat test today. Goodness me. A lot going on. Look, thank you for all your feedback. Love it when you guys talk to me and keep the feedback coming. But let's have a back end quickie. And do you like scare pranks? If you don't, you probably... Oh, Amanda, I think we've had a camera knock. That doesn't look right, does it? No, look, the logo's cut off. Oh no, I'm going to fix it. Do you like pranks? If you don't, you're not going to like this back end quickie.
You stupid! I'm not doing
Oh. So simple.
How many get it?
No! Mason! Don't do that shit! Take that phone and go on!
Oh, that'd be freaky.
When's it end?
Yes, hey, you laugh, but if I do it to you, I get in so much trouble. If I ever scare anyone in this house, anyway. That brings us to the end of McKnight Tonight. We will celebrate 50 episodes next week. That should be a lot of fun. And thanks for all the feedback this week and the great numbers. Some videos are really hitting and we love all your support. Keep it coming. All right, that brings us to the end of Tipsy Thursday. I hope you've had fun. We'll see you next week. Until then, it's good night from McKnight.